All right, grade 7. We are working on lesson 90 here, and lesson 90 is talking about mixed number coefficients and negative coefficient. What is a mixed number? Well, you all know what a mixed number could be, right? 3.5. And a negative coefficient is basically a negative number. Coefficient of what? Well, if you have negative 3.5x or negative 3x. What I'm going to do is, rather than go through all the different examples that they have, I am going to right away go with you through the practice set. Now, once you have done one or so of them, what I suggest you do is that you hit pause in between and try it on your own, see if you can actually get the correct answer. So here I am, I'm setting up my textbook for a second. Got my textbook up here. If I look at A, it says we have 1 1/8 x equals 36. So how do we figure this out? How do we get rid of that 1 1/8 that's sitting right beside the x there and get just x by itself? Well, typically we would multiply it by a reciprocal. Well, we can't do that when it's a mixed number, so we actually have to switch that mixed number into an improper fraction. So 1 1/8 actually would be 9/8 x equals 36. That makes sense. Now, we've learned before that in order to get rid of fraction, we just multiply it by its reciprocal. And that what we do to one side of the equation, we also do to the other side of the equation. So we're going to have to multiply this one by 8/9, which means that we'll have to also multiply 36 by, whoops, I was going to write 36, but that's not it. You'll have to multiply it by 8/9 as well. So you can see that the 9's cross each other out and the 8's cross each other out. That essentially just leaves x on this side. Here we can make this smaller by having this as 4. Oh, sorry, my bad. I was putting the 4 in the wrong spot. This is 1, and this is 4. So really what we get is 4 times 8 over 1, which is just plain old 32. So that's how you would work that one out for A. I'm going to then move on to B to show you how that would work out. So B is saying that we have 3.5a, 3 1/2 a equals 490. So we got some pretty big numbers here, but let's see how we can work our way out. So the first thing we're going to do is switch this to an improper fraction. So 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7, so we get 7 half a equals 490. That makes sense. We know how to now get rid of it. We have to multiply it by its reciprocal, which means that we're going to have to multiply this one by that as well. Okay, so the 7's cancel each other out, 2's cancel each other out. We get a on the bottom equals this. We can cross that out to 1. 490 divided by 7 would get you 70. 70 times 2 is 140. So there's your answer for B. C, I think you're going to have the pattern here. It's going to be a little bit different, but let's work our way through it here. We have improper fractions on both sides. So C is 2 3/4. W equals 6 3/5. Okay, the first thing that you're going to do is make both sides have improper fractions. So 2 times 4 is 8 plus 3 is 11, so we get 11/4. W equals 6 times 5 is 30, so we have 33/5. Okay, now in order to get rid of the 11 over 4 on the one side, we're going to have to multiply that by its reciprocal. That means that we have to put that same reciprocal on this side here of the equation. Okay, and so we can see these cancel each other out. So we get just W on this side. The 11 and 33 can cancel that out by dividing both of those by 11. So you get 3 and 1. 3 times 4 is 12. So our answer here will be 12 fifths. Okay, moving on to D. D, you're going to have 2 and 2/3. Y equals 1 and 4/5. Let's see if you can do this on your own. Hit pause, try it, and then I'll go through the solution. Solution, 2 times 3 is 6 plus 2 is 8, so we get 8/3 y equals 1 times 5 is 5 plus 4 is 9, we get 9/5. Okay, we have to multiply by the reciprocal, so 3/8. The 8's cancel each other out, 3's cancel each other out, y is on this side equals, can we change any of these into smaller numbers? Not really. We get 27 over 40. And there's your answer. Moving on to E. We have negative 3x. Now this is a different one. We're talking about negative coefficients here. Negative 3x equals 0.15. Now what we want to do is get rid of the negative 3. So what do? We divide this one by negative 3, and we divide this one by negative 3. Okay, by dividing by negative 3, this cancels this out. 0.45 divided by negative 3 gets you 0.15, and it is a negative number. So x is 0.15 negative, because 45 divided by 3, you can do this fairly easy in your head. 45 divided by 3 is 15. How many decimal points? We have 2. You move it over 2 decimal points. That finds your answer for you. F, we have a different type of negative coefficient here. So negative 3/4 m equals 2/3. Now you notice we don't have any mixed number, but we have a negative coefficient. So in order to get rid of the negative number, we have to do the following. We have to multiply it by its same negative coefficient. Negative 4/3 times 3/4 equals 2/3 times negative 4/3. So these, you can see, they will cancel each other out. Oh, sorry, we had 2 negatives. Our negatives will cancel each other out as well. Then we're just left with, m there. M will equal 2 times 4 is 8, and 3 times 3 is 9. So we're going to have a negative 8/9. Make sense? Then we're going to move on to G. Hopefully that makes sense for you as well. So you might want to try this one on your own. Negative 10y equals negative 1.6. I'll give you a second to put it on pause. Okay, here we go. We're going to try it. We can divide this by negative 10 to get rid of it on this side. And we can divide it by negative 10 on this side. Okay? So, when we look at that, these cancel each other out. So we're left with y equals negative 1.6 divided by negative 10. Now we know that when we divide by 10, it just moves that, whoa, I don't know what it did there. It just moves that decimal place over. So what you are going to get as an answer is y equals, the negatives cancel each other out. That moves the decimal point over, so you get 0.16. Hopefully that made sense for you. All right, and then we go to H, which is the last one in the practice set there before I, which asks you a question how to verify it. But H has negative 2 and 1/2 W equals 3 and 1/3. Now it's combining both things that you have learned. We have negative coefficient and we also have a mixed number coefficient. So it's a negative mixed coefficient. So here we go. The first thing that we have to do is make an improper fraction beside the W. So 2 times 2 will get you to 4 plus 1 is 5. So we have 5 halves. So we have negative 5 halves W equals 3 and 1/3. All right, so in order to get rid of this negative, we have to multiply it by another negative. So it would be negative 2/5. That means that we'd have to multiply this by negative 2/5. But we haven't changed this one into an improper fraction, so we can't multiply that. So let's put that on the next line. These cancel each other out, these cancel, the negatives cancel out, and the 2's cancel out. So we have W equals, now let's change this one. 3 times 3 is 9, so we get 10/3 times negative 2/5. So you can see this will cancel out. That's a 1, that's a 2. So we still have a negative there, so W equals negative 4/3. And that is our solution. So I asked the question, when solving an equation, how can you show that your answer is correct? Well, it's pretty simple. If we substitute this answer into this equation, it's going to give us the answer. And I'm just going to show you for I how that would work. So if we go negative 2 and 1/2 W equals 3 and 1/3, let's go add that number in there. So let's make this into an improper fraction. So that is negative 5/2. And we'll put 4/3, negative 4/3 in here. So we're going to multiply those together, equals 3 and 1/3. Does that work? 5 times 4 is 20. 2 times 3 is 6. The negative times a negative gets you a positive, so 20/6 equals 3 and 1/3. Doesn't look right yet, does it? Well, we can divide them by 2. We wind up getting 10/3 equals 3 and 1/3. Because if we divide them both by 2, that's how you're going to get that answer. Well, let's move 10 and 1/3 into a mixed number. We get 3 and 1/3 equals 3 and 1/3. So for I, you just have to substitute your answer in to see if you've got it correct. So that makes your lesson for lesson 90. Please do all the even numbers. Make sure you mark your lesson 89. Submit it as complete. Some of you are not still doing that. And make sure that you message me with your mark.